if the soil drains, it's very good for the trees. It's full of nutrients. It's really good soils. We don't have the soil. Often that's what people have to do around here. The lady who had that soil that was so hard that I couldn't even stick the soil core in it, you know, she needed to put down about 2 inches of soil, you know, and she might have to do that incrementally. It depends on, you know, how much she loves her grass. A lot of times I try to get people to put more mulch and take away the grass. Some people are just very enamored of the grass. We can have both, but you've got to think about caring for both. A lot of people think, oh, my grass is fine, my trees must be fine. That's just not the way it is. You got to work on the soil and water trees. Yeah.
When you put that soil on top, do you dig it in at all?
You do not dig it in. Now our root systems, and you know, I've gotten sort of, I started to say in trouble. That's just kind of an East Texas colloquialism for, you know, somebody brought it up to me, didn't like something I said. I have said on the radio a couple of times I have not enamored of soil aeration very much. Part of that is because our soil roots are so shallow that if you start aerating very intrusively or invasively, you're just, you know, really burgering around and cutting up all those little fine feeder roots, and it just doesn't seem like to me a very good thing to do. And generally, you know, with aerators, the non-invasive type, even the plug type, you know, only go down in the soil about this far. Well, you can't change the compaction below that by doing that practice, and you can fix the compaction in the top few inches of soil, folks, with compost and really good soil and with regular watering. Because the compost, the microorganisms go down there and just break that soil up, and the watering helps, you know, fluff up the whole thing. And so really a great way for beginning to break up compaction, at least surface compaction, is to start putting compost on your soil. Yeah.
How close can you put the mulch to the tree? And,
well, you put it right up to the bark. So here you have a buttress coming down off of a tree trunk. You put the mulch right up to it. You know, or if you're worried, put it a couple inches out. What happens? This becomes a maintenance thing, though, because when we have big rains, mulch kind of floats a little bit, settles back down, evens out. So, you know, it might move up to your tree trunk. You just get out there with your hand and you pull it back off. So mulch can go really close, just shouldn't go in the trunk. Same with soil that you want to add out under the branches. Just get it out there and apply it. And if you've got grass, of course, you're going to have to do it incrementally, a little bit at a time.
What happens, and unfortunately I did this 2 years ago, so I put the mulch right next to the tree. Now I've got some funny looking stuff around it. Move that back, and what if I already have some damage down there? What can I do to repair that?
Well, hopefully the damage will repair itself. Because the first thing that happens in a situation like this is the bark begins to degrade because there's soil or mulch or whatever's been thrown up against it. And you can look at a lot of oak trees that go straight into the ground where the root crown has been buried for a long time. The thing you see is that the outer rough bark is gone. It's kind of smooth bark. Well, that's the bark going away. If you take that away, the bark will recover and grow itself back. Bark grows from the inside out, so you know the degradation from the outside in, you know, isn't so bad. And here again, I'm speaking generically because a whole lot of the tree problems that people call me about require really careful looking at that base and seeing, you know, what's really there, and you know, seeing if there's a problem. And one of the things to highlight here is that most of the base and root and butt rot problems that trees have, once they have it, we are not very good at fixing it. It's preventing it that's so important. And that's why, you know, we're talking about it like we are, so that you'll understand that not to do it, because you don't, if you can prevent it, you don't have the problem. If you inherit the problem, you know, you just have to deal with it.
How about grass clipping or mulch?
Grass clipping, any dead organic matter makes good mulch. The smaller pieces it's in, the better it will compost and degrade. So grass clippings is a really good thing. A lot of people would put them aside and let them age a little bit before applying them directly to the plant. But in my opinion, and there was this whole thing a few years ago about uncomposted mulch, like a cedar tree just chipped up a few weeks ago, made into mulch, draws a lot of the nitrogen out of the soil while it decomposes. Well, it turns out that that's not as big as we thought maybe it was, because scientists have actually really been looking at that hard the last few years. And to me, looking at the scientific research, it's more important to get the organic matter out there on your plants than to worry about that decomposition using up a little of the nitrogen in your soil.
If you have some fungal problems going on the new bark, does that mean that it's probably starting?
No, those are most of the time totally separate things, and that it'd have to analyze it exactly to really tell you whether it's a problem. Because a lot of fungal fruiting bodies up in trees, up in the tree system, and especially in the crown system, is not as serious as the base. Hardly ever as serious as the base.
It's not something that you have one that you have the other.
That it is not. There's no correlation there. Yeah.
How large a mulch bed should you have around a tree that's in the lawn?
You all, I think that if you're as much of a tree nut as I am, you would have your mulch out to your branch lines. And you would have super happy, vigorous trees. Not only that, what you'd be doing about every 3 or 4 years would be moving that mulch out further, because that branch line is going to be out there further. Those kind of trees with a live oak, you'll get that good 6-8 inches of growth a year, which is what a good happy live oak would like to get, for example. When many of our live oaks were overgrowing, but that's a different issue.
So are you saying you should basically get rid of the lawn under your tree?
Well, I'm not actually saying that. That's kind of like saying something about somebody's cat or dog. You better watch out what you say. Like, a lot of people really love their grass, and in fact, we're in a culture where the extreme of this issue we're talking about is golf courses. Golf courses favor their grass over their trees, and in fact, what a lot of golf courses do is they kill their trees. Generally not on purpose, but they're weed and feed, they're herbicides to make their grass look really good. Their trees start dying, and so that's the other extreme of what we're talking about. I personally, have some lawn area out by my house. I really like it. It's eating up way more of my water than it deserves right now, let me tell you. Much rather be putting it on some of these new shade trees that I'm trying to grow, and I'm putting it on them too. In fact, it's a balancing act. I live on a ranch that's got 4 houses. We got 1 well. We can have 3 faucets on at any one time, 24 hours a day, but you can't have more than that because they all go dry if you do that. So all the time, we're all balancing. In fact, showers and washing the dishes get #1 priority. And so if somebody at one of the other houses is running out of water, and they'll call up and say, okay, I'm showering, I got my shampoo on my hair, and I don't have any water. So, everybody runs off and turns off their outside water. And waits about an hour hoping everybody's through with their showers. Every morning we go through this. So anyway, that's the kind of situation we're talking about. So I'm balancing, do I water my little patch of St. Augustine, or do I water my new cedar elm? I'm going to water my cedar elm most of the time. Yes, ma'am.
This big mulch area under the trees, what can we plant there? Any bushes?
We were talking about this earlier. A really bad tree care practice is to build up a little stone border about 3 feet from the trunk of a tree, fill that area with soil, and plant things in it. What makes it even worse is if you plant what I call Houston plants that have to be watered every day. You're going to have root crown, root rot, base rot disease on that tree in X number of years in the future. If you're covering up the root crown of your tree and you're watering that soil, you're just asking for that root crown to rot. And once we have root crown disease,